Tonight, Townsville's mayor calls for council to be put into administration.
Labor's leaders come to town to listen and learn.
A cane curfew lifted to combat harvesting delays.
And the local heroes up for an award.
This is 7 News with Joanne, Desmond and Nathan Spurling.
Good evening, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Mayor Troy Thompson has called for council to be put into administration, revealing his concerns about unfinished projects. Councillor Christian Price, meanwhile, has also been cleared of misconduct following allegations from the mayor that he'd inappropriately accepted gifts.
In the last financial year, Mayor Troy Thompson says council has invested more than $152 million in roads, footpaths, water infrastructure and wastewater assets.
Year on year is very good. If we finish 50 projects a year, and we've got 2,000 on our books, does that mean we don't finish those projects for 40 years?
Admitting he's called for council to be put into administration.
I'd sent some correspondence to the Premier and also the Minister around my concerns.
Premier Crisafulli says he hasn't spoken to the mayor about the matter.
I'd have to check Coro, Frank, but I haven't. I don't believe I've received anything from the mayor. I certainly haven't corresponded with the mayor.
Councillor Christian Price has also been cleared by the Crime and Corruption Commission on October 30, following claims of misconduct.
Look, it'd be really nice if he would apologise, but like I said, I don't think I'm going to get one from him.
The mayor's still adamant his councillor hasn't been cleared.
Well, the CCC report I've got hasn't cleared him at all as yet.
Well, I'm happy to send him a copy of it. I've got it on my computer upstairs.
Bethany Ross, 7 News.
Opposition leader Stephen Miles visited Townsville today as part of a regional Labor listening tour to find out more about what led to the party's election defeat. He's been told Labor
lose our seats here in Townsville, and we accept that people in Townsville wanted to send us a message, and we are here to hear that message.
Stephen Miles admitted the ALP's 3 local seats were lost to crime.
Some of the early advice we've had from talking to Townsville locals has been that they just felt we took too long to respond to that surge in crime.
But he labelled the LNP's plan to tackle the issue as a forward rhyme.
This is his signature commitment. He went to this election committing that youth crime would be fixed by Christmas, and we'll be holding him to that.
While his deputy reignited concerns about the future of Copper String, claiming the line will stop at Hewenden.
If Copper String, that amazing transformative power line, does not run from Townsville to Mount Isa, then Townsville and the north will just not get the full economic benefit.
We've backed $6 billion for Copper String, and if the former Treasurer knows something that requires more money than that, and they didn't tell Queenslanders, that would be very, very disappointing.
Chanel Macbeth, 7 News.
Bad weather and equipment breakdowns at sugar mills has caused serious delays for cane harvesting across Queensland. Growers have had to apply for an exemption to continue crushing cane into Christmas, when the season should be wrapping up by now.
A curfew on cane trains usually applies during December.
We should not be set up to be harvesting cane over Christmas. The cane is bred to be harvested from June to November.
It's very difficult to get people to work, and many times it's farmers and farmers' family that fill in those places during that period.
But this year, crushing will continue into the new year under an industry exemption,
which will allow machinery and cane trucks to operate on roads during the Christmas curfew.
The cane growers chairman blames poor mill performance and old equipment.
Mills have been breaking down, and that's pushed that, and so they're not harvesting during that period.
As soon as there's a breakdown with the mill, it's just a domino effect.
It's an issue that's been impacting the production of sugar in regional Queensland for years.
It's been 4 years. They've had time to improve.
If we could all have a spanner and get into those mills and fix it, we would. But unfortunately, the mills are old.
But an exemption is only a short-term solution. It won't be sustainable for the future.
It's just a cost on the growers, it's a cost on the mills because that cane is harder to process.
The quality of the cane deteriorates pretty seriously, especially if we get rain. And crushing into January is just, it really is a sad situation.
Savannah Burke, 7 News.
2 Townsville women have been nominated for an Australian of the Year award for their local charity Fuel for Schools. Founders Paula Poole and Demelza Gardam started the initiative in 2015. They provide essential school items like backpacks, lunch boxes and water bottles to kids in need, along with breakfast clubs.
2 in 3 students go to school without breakfast. It's more than a piece of toast.
It's more than a piece of toast, absolutely. We want to create that community and conversation.
The award winners will be revealed on November 18 in Brisbane, ahead of the presentation in Canberra in January next year.
Well, we could soon see sweeping changes to the way the Australian healthcare system operates. It's part of a landmark review into our health heroes and how they're currently hamstrung by red tape.
Cutting out the middleman could be the way of the future for healthcare.
For the poor GPs that are swamped at the moment, it would be good to be able to relieve that pressure for them.
Patients treated at some allied health services are currently sent back to the GP if they need a referral to see a specialist.
Currently, the GPs are inundated with patients for every situation that's going on, and it's so congested. It would be much easier, obviously, if our patients could just go directly to the surgeons.
Now, a landmark report has found removing barriers like this will improve access to regional healthcare.
But also for the patients to just have the ability to get into your specialists a lot quicker.
It'll alleviate some pressure from our overwhelmed general practitioners, but not everyone thinks it's a good idea.
The risk with this report is that we'll get siloed off, have a 2-tier health system and really not share information or share knowledge about patients.
It's now up to the federal government to action all or some of the 18 recommendations. Health Minister Mark Butler says much of the advice requires states and territories and other organisations to jump on board, but a timeline for those discussions is still up in the air.
Just because it is a review and there are recommendations doesn't mean it will be adopted nor implemented.
Claire Sienta, 7 News.
Phil Thompson is calling for the business case to be released for a scrapped concert hall in Townsville after funding was pulled by the Albanese Labor government. The Herbert MP says residents are furious councillors had to choose between the concert hall and rebuilding Reef HQ.
People ask me every day, what happened? Why wasn't the funding allocated? Why did we have to choose between 2 projects? We should never have had to choose. It should never have been one or the other. We should have been fighting for both.
In August, the Prime Minister reallocated $100 million of the City Deal funding from the concert hall project to refurbish Reef HQ.
A Queensland woman has completed the journey of a lifetime, helping to raise awareness and funding for research into gynecological cancers. She says it's a journey that's all about women building for women.
It's a cause close to Angela Davies' heart.
My daughter is a gynaecologist and she has worked with oncology patients.
That's what inspired her to head to the Alpine Crossing in New Zealand's South Island to join a like-minded group of riders to undertake a 217-kilometre journey.
We cycled for 3 days, we rafted and we climbed up a mountain in sleet, sub-zero, and it was just an amazing experience, really.
Angela completed her trek for Gynecological Cancer Awareness Month, shining a light on cancers that impact the female reproductive system and impact more than 6,700 Australian women and girls every year.
But at the moment, I can tell you we do have a problem. And the awareness is hugely important.
Experts say these cancers are often not detected until they have spread, making them more difficult to treat. Angela managed to raise $216,000, roughly $1,000 for every kilometre covered.
Most people think that the government gives us funding to do this research, but this funding is very sporadic.
Jodie Clark, 7 News.
Yeah, what a tremendous effort from Angela. Well done to her, Jo. Ahead tonight, Queensland kids find out through drawing why we pause on Remembrance Day.
And the Townsville artist with a celebrity following.
Townsville turns to 7 News to keep up to date on local issues, and we want you to be a part of it. If there's something happening in your street, your suburb, we want to know about it. Send us a message or drop us an email.
Day. Chalk murals are being unveiled this week so kids can find a personal connection to a day that unites all Australians.
Linking the past with the future.
It's a event that encourages students to engage in basically remembering to remember the service of veterans.
Young students are expressing their personal stories and knowledge of veterans in a Draw to Remember initiative in the lead up to Remembrance Day.
My family's been in the army for many generations. My grandfather, my dad, and my mum is a currently serving member.
It's the third year that Queensland RSL has actually done the event. We've got 177 schools statewide with about 14,000 students participating.
They're also encouraged to acknowledge their own family's contribution.
If every Queensland student can actually deep dive into their family history and know that they have a part in service past, present and what will be the future.
Yeah, my great-granddad's actually in the War Memorial in Canberra.
And it's not just murals. Students are also writing postcards to veterans in the RSL.
I know it's hard for some people when they leave the army, especially with trauma from what they've gone through. So even just knowing that, you know, there are people out there thinking of them.
Shina Macbeth, 7 News.
Well, the Prince of Wales and Australia Zoo's own Prince Robert Irwin have joined forces to support conservation. They were in Cape Town together on the second day of Prince William's visit to South Africa and later posted some highlights on social media.
I think I'm going to have to do the cheetah.
Cheetahs, okay.
Cheetahs.
Very cool,
Fantastic.
very cool. It's chameleons for me. The unsung hero, I love them.
Robert Irwin is an ambassador for Prince William's Earthshot Prize, which supports sustainable projects around the world.
Well, a Townsville illustrator has shared the spotlight at the Wicked movie premiere in Sydney with stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Emily Ingham presented the actors with 2 of her jackets to mark the movie's launch.
A memento for an unforgettable trip down under. Hollywood stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo received a personalised work of art at the Wicked premiere in Sydney.
I flew to Sydney because I think you've got to go chase your own dreams.
28-year-old Emily Ingham lined up for more than 8 hours for this moment.
She walked out with Ariana and I was like waving my jacket in the air for her to see it, and she pointed at me and she's like, I know you.
Gifting her art to Hollywood stars, which took her days to create.
I was hustling, like I was just painting all day, all night, just to get these done.
Cynthia was also spotted showing off the jacket at Sydney Airport.
It was very surreal. She's a beautiful soul.
Creating custom jackets featuring celebrities like Sabrina Carpenter, Pink and Taylor Swift, the Townsville local has big dreams.
My goal is to become a famous artist and start doing big work for big brands and big names.
Bethany Ross, 7 News.
Oh, they're incredible. What an incredible artist Emily is. It's
fantastic,
fabulous.
And I'm glad after 8 hours it all worked out for Emily too.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
All right, well, Nate, the fire, there's back in action tonight.
Yeah, it's another big trip, Joe, for the Townsville team. They'll need all their energy in Perth tonight when they take on the Lynx. And the Blackhawks recruit reunited with Townsville coach Terry Campese. And welcome back for all of tonight's sport. The Townsville Fire will be trying to slow the Lynx down tonight when the sides face off in round 2 of the WNBL in Perth. But the hosts, they have no intention of changing their fast-paced play, and Townsville's transition defence will be crucial.
Townsville's players have already spent plenty of time in airport, and round 2 of the WNBL hasn't even begun. It will tonight when the Fire faces the Lynx. The trip across the country was long, and the return route is also a few flights, but the new look squad is embracing being away from home early hosts love pulling the trigger early in offense, and they'll be quick on the draw in the Battle of the West.
The nature of just playing that aggressive and not even thinking about it. And there's going to be a couple of nights where it doesn't work, but we're going to try and tire teams out with how we play.
They really love to push the ball and just shoot a whole bunch of transition threes, and you know, they're a really great fast-paced team, so I think we got to be able to slow them down in transition and make them play the full 30 seconds.
The Fire will look to take a more measured approach to scoring. Having measured the heights of both sides, the visitors feel they can get the job done under the basket.
They're still a tall team, but I think we also have the upper hand. We have Coxie and Frolls and Lucy and myself, and so I think that'll be something we should use to our advantage.
Coach Shannon Seabohm has suggested he may make changes to the starting five from the Fire's win over Geelong. Import Zaya Cook could be promoted to the tip-off team. Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
Aussie coach Mal Meninga called him a pioneer of the international game yesterday, but Cowboy Jason Taumalolo won't be holding back against the Kangaroos in Sunday's Pacific Championship final. And the hulking Tongan lock is adamant his nation can't produce an upset in the big showdown.
We just don't fear him at all. We don't fear any opposition.
A red sea of supporters are spurring the underdogs on, and it's inspiring the team to cause a boil-over. Emotions will be high when the players perform the Sippy Tau, which is the pre-game war dance just before the kick-off.
They play for their family, they play for their heritage, but most of all, they love to represent their country.
Australia did hold Tonga scoreless when the sides met in the tournament opener. Meanwhile, the chance to reunite with Blackhawks coach Terry Campese helped lure Townsville recruit Joseph Dell to the club. The outside back has spent time in the West Tigers and Canterbury Bulldogs system, and he hasn't given up on his NRL dream.
Joseph Delhi has been in a couple of NRL systems, but he's still trying to crack the big time. And cracking the Blackhawks team should be easy if he keeps praising the man who picks it. The 21-year-old played under and alongside Terry Campese when he captain coached the Queanbeyan Blues in Canberra.
I was playing in the juniors there, and he was obviously playing first grade there, doing a little bit of coaching as well. Made my first grade debut with Terry and played with him, I think, 2 years there. And yeah, he was running amok in the local comp there, carving up, best player in the comp.
Put him over for a few tries.
And while they won't be teammates this time, both are pleased to be reunited.
Yeah, he got the opportunity to come up here, and he's going to be a good asset to the club and also put a lot of depth in the outside backs.
Daly can play wing, centre or fullback, and fitness won't be an issue if he keeps racking up the kilometres in Townsville's tough climate.
I probably prefer fullback, but there's a lot of running these days. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Had a couple sessions here before we started last week for testing, and I was rattled, but yeah, hopefully get used to it soon.
He's pretty versatile off the field as well, with a clothing brand to his name and a YouTube channel.
I have my own YouTube channel as well, Joseph Delio 3. Just documenting the journey of, trying to make it to the top.
Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
I'm sure Joey's just picked up a few new followers as well, Joe, and that's it for our sport.
Thanks for that, Nate. Stay with us after the break. Livio joins us and he'll have all the weather details for us.
Good evening, Livio, Regano with tonight's weather. The Sunshine State is starting to resemble a wood-fired oven as the heatwave warning area expands coastward and engulfs some of the more densely populated eastern districts. Inland areas are carrying the biggest burden, with temps more than 10 degrees above average and no end in sight to the stifling conditions. Already our temperatures are above average and the trend will continue, with northerly winds dragging in a continuous train of equatorial air. Our top in Townsville today was 31 degrees. On the satellite loop, the eastern half of Queensland is pretty dry, except, of course, the thunderstorms that blew up over Darling Downs this afternoon. We were expecting those, but a lot more isolated than they have been. And, of course, some more storms further west, just ahead of the inland trough, which you'll see in just a moment. Let's have a look at today's chart. The inland trough is basically the delineator of the heatwave conditions, because ahead of it, the entire state of Queensland is under the influence of those very hot northwesterly winds dragging equatorial air down. It's expanded the heatwave area almost to the coast and certainly over the southern half of Queensland. On tomorrow's chart, that trough starts to march eastward again, We still got to wait for another cold front to catch up with it before it becomes a problem with thunderstorms. There will be some around though. But then on the outlook charts, you can see that trough moves into eastern Queensland. A front joins up with it. And Friday onwards will be a fairly volatile time for thunderstorms across southern Queensland. Too early to tell whether they'll be severe, and the tropics will continue hot with no rain. Now the latest from the Weather Bureau. Boating forecast for Townsville waters, east to northeast winds 10 to 15 knots tomorrow. Much the same on Friday, a little bit lighter. From first quarter moon. Herbert and Lower Burdekin, a bright sunny day and rather warm again. Townsville 22 to 32 degrees, Ayr also 32, Ingham 33, Northern Goldfields and Upper Flinders a heat wave warning for western parts. Dry with a high fire danger. Charters Towers at 17 to 37 degrees, Georgetown 41. Looking ahead for Townsville, despite our reputation for tropical heat, this is actually one of the best places in Queensland to be right now, with tempering sea breezes keeping us in the low 30s. And that's all for this evening, folks. Pleasure to have your company as always, and thanks for watching 7 Local Weather. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Hope you can join me then. Now it's back to the team.
Great, thanks for that, Livio. And that's all from us for this Wednesday. Thanks for your company.
Just a reminder, if you'd like to catch anything from our news again, you can see that on 7plus, or of course download the 7 News app. So from everyone here, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night.
Good night.